Hello and welcome back to part 3 of the how I would build Mike Bloomfield's guitar. And in today's video we're going to focus on the fret marks. If you have a right-handed guitar you'll see the dots, but if you flip it over there will be no dots because they're on the wrong side. One way that you can do this that is very simple and that will work somewhat at least is you can put tape where the fret marks are. And unless you play a lot with your thumb over where it might grab, it will hold up for a while at least. But let's take this tape away and do something a little bit more permanent that is an actual real solution. And let's also make this neck look nice by removing the dots on this side. And I'm going to show you how I do it. You can just drill holes with a bit that is the same size and plug them up. But you'll have tiny little perfect circles that are very easy to see. And so the way I do it makes it a little bit harder to spot where they are, hopefully. So let's get right into it, okay? So instead of drilling these holes out, I'll take a super tiny little chisel. It looks like a U. And what I do is I dig in and I just create a small groove right here. And I chip away at it. And I try to make it look a little bit wonky and asymmetrical and off basically, and just do that to all of them. And I'll show you another one. I just go in, I cut in, and that one is a little bit too long, but that's okay. And then I turn it around and I'll just cut a little bit more. And the point here really is that if you make the shape a little bit weird, when we go to fill it up, no one will think about where the round lines are, because there are no round lines. It's just a weird unsymmetrical shape. I really hope you can see what it looks like. It looks almost like a piece of wood have been shipped out. And so try to just make it look a little bit almost like you've chipped out, actually, is a good way to think of it. And so I'll just go over all of this and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so the next step is to fill this mark here. And obviously, depending on the color of your fretboard, you're gonna have to color match it differently. And you can use a bunch of things. You can use powder, you can use a pencil, you can use basically anything. And I'm just using a razor blade and I'm scraping, and I'm trying to get the scrapings to fall down into this little cavity that I've made and fill it up like so. And then I'm just taking some super glue and I'm just gonna put a couple of drops there, move it around with my razor blade so that it doesn't go everywhere, because I only want it where I want it. And it might look a little bit sloppy and weird right now, but don't worry, we can clean this up. And so hopefully you can see it's starting to disappear. It's not really gone yet, but we just keep on adding more and more black powder until we basically just plug up the hole. And if we go a little bit over, so we have a bump of super glue and color pigment, we can level it afterwards. So I'm just gonna leave it like that. It sticks up a little bit, but I'm gonna have to wait a couple of seconds for it to dry, and then I'm gonna do the next holes, and once I've filled all of them we'll come back to it and level it and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so here we have one of the places where I've matched up the wood with the paint and the glue. And so now I'm just going to take my scraper. You can use a razor blade if you don't have one of these, it doesn't matter. And I'm just going to lightly start leveling this out. And you're just going to have to go back and forth and level it out. So you see how, I mean, you can see a little bit of it left, but I'm not done with it yet. You see how it almost immediately disappeared? And so if I just work on it a little bit more, just a couple of strokes, even everything out. And unless you know that a mark was there, you can't really see it, because the asymmetrical shape makes you not think of it. And so I've done it all the way down here now. And once I put the finish back over again, it's gonna look really good. Back here I did it a little bit bad, and I got a little spill here, so I'm gonna have to fix this. That's why the light wood is showing through. Okay, so I've put masking tape on, and I've squared it up to the frets and the back of the fret, so that I can take measurements and trace things out. So I start out by measuring between the frets with the calips, and I try my very best to make it even. Then I divide it by half, and I will make a tiny little mark, and I'll move it over to the other side, and I'll make a mark, and if they line up on the same place, I know that I've found the middle. And then use the underside of the calips where this thing here sticks out to get a measurement of the fretboard. See if can I make you see what I'm doing. Line it up to the line, and then I can see what it says, and then I can divide it. And once I'm happy, I can see if you can see what I'm doing. It's kind of hard to show. Once I'm happy, I'll make a mark like so. And so I have the middle of both. And now I can take an awl, and I can press it in there where I've made the mark. And because I use an awl, it will be transferred into the wood. You didn't see what I was doing. Come on, camera, please. And once I've found where I want to drill, I can just use an awl to make a mark. And because I've pressured it into the wood, it will be easier to drill. And so I'm just gonna measure all of these out, and I'll be back to you real soon. On the 12th fret, you're supposed to have 2 dots, and so you can measure out the middle and then divide both halves and get perfect middles. Or you can decide a measurement from the edges of the frets inward. Basically, it's just a question of how you want to do it. As long as you do the same thing on both sides, this mark here and this mark here, it will look nice. Now I'm going to drill out the hole. I line it up with the mark I've made, and so it won't wander. I hold the neck as straight as I can and the drill as straight as I can, and I just go down about 1 mil into the fretboard, not more at all. And it's kind of hard to see maybe, but that hole is super small. Okay, so the holes have been drilled, and now I'm going to show you a super simple way of doing inlays. That is probably the most simple way you can do this, and it's also super fast. Buy epoxy clay and just make a little bead and press it into these holes. Roll off the excess and just keep on rolling and keep on pressing it in. And just remove the excess. It's so easy, you basically don't even have to use 2 hands. And once it's hardened, which is the only thing that takes time, you can just lightly sand or scrape the surface and you'll get super flush, nice looking little beads. That's a super simple way of doing it. Okay, so here's the neck now, and if you look at this edge, I don't know how to focus, but at least at first glance, you wouldn't expect there to have been fret marks. And that's good. I'm going to put finish on the side again. It's basically just a brush in some lacquer and just moving it up. Doing my best not to get it on the front, but knowing me, I most definitely will get it on the front. And then once the side dots on this side have dried, I'm gonna put some clear lacquer on this side as well. I like doing the side dots in a not very crisp white color because it will go better with the dots on the fretboard that are made to look like old clay dots. And I mean, epoxy clay is clay, so I mean, it all works out well in the end, I suppose, maybe. We're not really gonna do anything more to the neck than this. So in the next video, we're gonna move back into the body and continue there before we assemble everything. If you like the video, please give me a like. I would really appreciate it. I'd also love for you to subscribe. That would be amazing. You don't have to if you don't want to. Talk to me in the comments below. Tell me what you think and feel. And yeah. And until next time, stay awesome and cool and go and build something. Maybe like a replica of an old 60s Fender.